It has to be the winner of the photojournalism category. It's a striking picture that keeps you looking and starts you thinking. And it's been created in a very imaginative way, specifically to tell a story, which is the impact on wildlife of the new impenetrable 30-foot border wall, which is being built right now between Mexico and the US. And what Alessandro has done is project an image onto the wall of a wild jaguar, which is one of many that he's been photographing with camera traps on the Mexican side of the border. And it's probably one of the jaguars that previously would have been able to cross over into Arizona. And then he's used a long exposure to capture a star-filled sky overhead, and a sky that has no borders. What he's made is an unforgettable symbol of the final end to jaguars crossing back over into the southern US. So many pictures in Wildlife Photographer of the Year give you hope that there's a rich and beautiful world out there still. But this one has a very special feel to it. It's almost a Rousseau-like scene. It's a woodland, but with palm trees and fan palms. And there's an elephant reaching up with its trunk gently to pluck leaves off a branch. All of it lit by the low evening sun. And then when you read the caption, you discover that the setting is the Gorongosa National Park, which is Mozambique's incredible restoration project, which followed the decimation in the Civil War and after the Civil War of the park's wildlife, and in particular elephants, which were hunted for meat but also for ivory. And today the population is definitely recovering and is now up to about 650 elephants. In fact, the photographer describes it as one of the most inspiring conservation projects on the planet. So many pictures in the competition show you places you've never been to and others that you never will. This is one of those. It's Marion Island, which is an incredibly remote, storm-blown volcanic island in the Indian Ocean, which is nearly 2,000 kilometres off South Africa, inhabited only by seabirds. And here you can see the macaroni penguins, which are nesting here. The photographer would have needed a special permit to land and would have taken days to sail here. So this is a very unique picture, but it's also very carefully composed. There's a whole story here. You could see out to the ocean where these macaroni penguins would normally live for most of the year. And in the amphitheatre below, you can see hundreds of penguins on the terraces. What I wondered when I first saw this was where the penguins were going and why. And the clue was the feathers, which are scattered like confetti on the ground. In fact, the penguins have obviously finished breeding and they've been molting. And in this picture, they're actually coming back from bathing in the sea, probably ridding themselves of irritating feathers. They molt before they finally return to sea. So the photographer was very lucky to get this shot because, in fact, it was a window of good weather. And then the very next morning, a major storm rolled in and all the penguins left. This was most definitely a lucky encounter, but the luck actually came from observation and being in the right place long enough, and with the skill to capture what in fact was very unexpected. The photographer was photographing red weaver ants when he realised that this ant had 8 legs and not 6 legs, which obviously as insects the ants had. It's in fact a spider that mimics the ants, which it preys on. And Mr. Bezois got his winning portrait by having the foresight to unscrew his lens, reverse mount it, and so he could focus right down on what is a very tiny subject. It's just 5 millimetres. And you can see how small it is because you can actually see all these little hairs on the leaf. And as the spider focused on what it was obviously seeing a reflection of itself, but looking like another spider, and you can see that because its legs are up in some kind of warning display. Mr. Biswas focused on it and its wonderful face. You can definitely look again and again at this interlacing weave of life forms. It's the winner of the plants and fungi category, and it really does have plants and fungi in it. The base is a tree. It's a Monterey cypress, which is found in the wild only on the California coast and only in this spot in the very clean air are its branches so covered by this wonderful spongy orange algae and the really beautiful grey lace lichen. And that lichen is the combination of algae and fungus. And what makes it special is the wonderful framing by Zorica, so that virtually no sky is visible at any point and you just see the weave. And she's done also something very special, which is using the technique of focus stacking, which effectively means taking a rapid number of images at a series of focus points and combining them in one shot, so creating an image very much as the eye would see it if you were there, so you can look up and in and through and among the branches. Of course, it had to be the moment, which is the grand title winner. Every time we looked at it in judging, everybody just couldn't help exclaiming. And of course, it's because of the expression of the marmot and its pirouetting posture, which is comical, and also the expression of that strange wolf-like Tibetan fox. But there's also tremendous energy between the two of them, with their paws raised. A truly frozen moment of a life and death story. It also, I think, meets the test of a really great picture, which is you can look at it again and again. One question that everyone always asks is, did the marmot make it? It didn't, but it did feed the Tibetan fox's very hungry family of cubs. Well, I would never tire of looking at this photograph. It's fascinating as well as beautiful, a really wonderful, strange sea creature. It lives out in the open ocean and it really is an ethereal drifter. It's a kind of comb jelly. Apparently this one was about 25 centimetres wide. Here it was photographed far out in the Mediterranean Sea. Those wing-like extensions are not wings. It's actually trawling for food with these strange, delicate, sort of vitreous nets, which it can fold in or out. And it also has long thread-like tentacles trailing behind, which it uses for catching tiny plankton as well as using those sticky nets. But what propels it are the hair-like beating oars along its iridescent combs. And that beautiful blue colour is a reflection of the blue Mediterranean sky. It's a truly exquisite creature, and I doubt if it's ever been photographed like this before, seen from above, relaxed, just going about its business, floating out on the waves.